Hey everyone, my name is Peter. Welcome to my Game Week 12 injuries video. There's been so many players flagged this week, I just want to clear up who's clearly fit to play this weekend, who definitely isn't, and anyone who we may potentially have to worry about. Let's start with those who are definitely going to be missing out in Game Week 12. Ben White of Arsenal is a nice simple starting point. We've recently learnt that he's about to undergo surgery relating to an issue that he's been managing over the last few weeks. It's going to keep him out for months, and all owners will need to transfer him out. Ange Postecoglou, in his press conference, confirmed that Christian Romero would not be ready for this week. He then added that they were hoping he'd be alright for the next one. I can't imagine many managers were looking to play him this week at City anyway, so if he's back in Game Week 13 at home to Fulham, you're not really affected by him being injured for 1 week, so he's an easy hold. Postecoglou then went on to speak about Mickey van der Ven, and he will be out longer term. That makes things pretty simple for owners. You really have to look to transfer him out at the earliest opportunity. According to Unai Emery, Ezri Konsa has a small injury and he needs time to rest and recover. He'll be unavailable this week, but could come back in for the next game. No reason to sell him this week on that basis, just give him 1 week on the bench. The situation with Amadou Onana is exactly the same. Small injury, requires a rest this week, could come back in for the next game. No reason to waste a transfer on him this week either. Then we have Trent Alexander-Arnold. In his press conference, Arne Slot confirmed that Trent hasn't trained this week and will not be fit for the match against Southampton in Game Week 12. He does expect him back soon though, so even if it turns out that he misses Game Week 13 as well, the fixture that week is Manchester City at home, and I don't imagine that's a game any owners are desperate to play him in anyway. After that, it's Newcastle away, another tricky fixture with a fairly low probability of a clean sheet, although Liverpool's defence seems capable of that against any team. But in Game Week 15, Liverpool start a lovely run of fixtures again, by which time Trent should comfortably be fit and playing again, and could really be a nice differential. So the question becomes, is it worth putting up with getting nothing from him for the next 2, maybe 3 weeks in preparation for that great run of matches? Well, 7 million is a lot of money to spend on a defender who blanks or sits on the bench. If your other defensive options give you good cover for the next 3 weeks, then perhaps it's not necessary to sell. But if downgrading him to a 4.5 to 5 million defender, such as Lewis Hall, Luca Digne, or Levi Colwill, gives you the funds to really upgrade a player in your midfield or forward line, then that seems a totally reasonable move under the circumstances. It really depends on the team setup that you have, but I wouldn't always recommend making more transfers than are necessary, and remember, there's a good chance that you'll want Trent back in your team in only a few weeks. Oliver Glasner told us in his press conference that Eze is back in training and would like to be involved in the match against Villa, but he's personally decided not to risk him this week. It's just a little bit too soon, but we can be fairly confident then that Eze will be okay to return next week. Eze's been on the chopping block in many FPL teams for so long now, he's only 8.3% owned at this point. But if you have cover this week, maybe it's okay to hold him, with Newcastle at home in Game Week 13, followed by that nice Ipswich fixture in Game Week 14. It's a tough 3 weeks straight after though, with City, Brighton and Arsenal to follow. If your squad is feeling stretched, then he's definitely someone you could move on though, maybe to Neto or Mitoma with their preferable long-term fixtures. Now, who's definitely fit to play? Well, there's extremely positive news from Thomas Frank regarding Brian Mbeumo this week. Mbeumo didn't link up with his international teammates during the last 2 weeks, but Frank was bullish about Mbeumo's prospects of making Game Week 12 in his press conference. I expect him to be available and ready, was his first statement, followed by, sometimes a week's rest can make all the difference, so I expect them to be ready. We're very grateful for the cooperation from the national team. That's really about as positive as it gets. I have no doubt he'll be playing against Everton. The situation with Wissa is identical. He also stayed in England as opposed to going away on international duty. Frank was keen to praise DR Congo national team for allowing Wissa the rest, and was confident he would now be ready to play in Game Week 12 as well. Great news for owners, with nothing to worry about with either of these popular Brentford attackers. Forest manager Nuno Espirito de Santo has confirmed that Ola Aina is fit and available for Saturday's clash against Arsenal. Admittedly, most owners probably aren't looking to play him in that match anyway, but it is handy to know he's okay ahead of his Game Week 13 fixture at home to Ipswich. Aina did return to England after picking up a knock in Nigeria's 1-1 draw with Benin, but he was now being confirmed he has fully recovered from that. Anthony Gordon remains flagged, but we saw him feature heavily for England in both of their international matches in the last 2 weeks, so clearly he's absolutely fine for game week 12 too. We've also heard from Sean Dyche that Dwight McNeil has had a good week of training and will be ready for game week 12 as well. That leaves us with those players we're not 100% certain about either way. Let's start with the most highly owned player who's yellow flagged, Cole Palmer. Palmer played the full 90 minutes against Arsenal in game week 11, despite rumours beforehand that he might not be fit. He didn't join up with the England international squad over the break, but as we've seen, that was the case for many of the international players on this occasion. Enzo Maresca spoke in his press conference about Chelsea's injuries, which included Palmer, saying, "Some of them are much better, some we will test today. Overall, they are much better." We've also seen pictures of Palmer in training this week, so all in all, I'm pretty positive that he'll be ready to play in game week 12. We have to accept in this case there is a small element of doubt. I'll be keeping an eye out for early team news with Chelsea being the 12:30 kickoff on Saturday, as Palmer was always the player I most wanted to transfer in this week. If I hear nothing, it's still highly likely I'll get him and take that small risk. Saka is a trickier one. Arteta has told us that Saka had his first partial training session today and that it went well. Not exactly clear that he's fit and ready to go, but he is in contention to start. We're back to the classic Saka situation again. He's got a knock, he's got a yellow flag, but the chances are he'll be absolutely fine to play. It's not a guarantee, but 9 times out of 10, when he's had a yellow flag in the build-up to a game week, he starts anyway. Perhaps I wouldn't transfer him in this week if I didn't already own him. Forest are a great defence anyway, and it's not an easy fixture. If I was an owner though, I'd definitely keep hold and start him in the hope he plays. I'm pretty confident he will. Andoni Iraola has told us that Antoine Semenyo had a tendinitis issue related to playing a lot of minutes, and it was important he had time to get treatment over the international break. He did add, however, that he thinks Semenyo can continue playing despite this situation, and he hopes he will get better and better. He sounded confident, and he said he hopes he can play against Brighton in game week 12. In this instance, I feel fairly confident Semenyo will be okay this week. It's not a complete guarantee, but as an owner, it's positive enough that I'll be starting him. Only one more player to mention, and that's Jamie Vardy. Steve Cooper says Vardy has been back in training with the group, but it's been a slightly modified training, so we'll see where he is for the weekend. This isn't exactly conclusive either way. Vardy is an important player for Leicester, so they'll want him to start if he can. He's also 37 years old though, and not as quick to recover from injuries and knocks as he used to be, and therefore they won't want to rush him back and exacerbate the problem. I can't see him coming off the bench in this game if he doesn't start, so as long as you have good first bench cover, it's okay to start him knowing that you'll be alright if he doesn't make it. If your bench looks thin, then it may well make more sense to move him on this week, maybe for João Pedro or even Evan Nielsen if your budget can stretch that far. That's all for now. I hope this video was helpful, and as always, please hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, see you for the next one.